Have you ever been obsessed with a character who seems to be fighting two separate wars? One outside with all these powerful enemies, and then this constant silent battle inside their own heart? That's where we're diving today. We're focusing on the ultimate internal warrior, Sanji, the cook of the Straw Hat Pirates from One Piece.
And it is the perfect deep dive, because his entire existence is, well, it's a paradox, isn't it? He's known as Blackleg Sanji for this incredibly destructive fighting style.
Right.
Yet he's really defined by the gentleness of his hands, by the purity of his moral code. He's a gentleman whose power comes from his feet, which, that's to make sure his hands stay pristine, to serve others.
And our mission here is to trace the scars that led to that code. We've got all this material that unpacks Sanji as a man forged by two brutal, completely separate backstories, two different kinds of pain. We want to know how a man who was abandoned and then systematically rejected by his own blood could choose principles over, genetically engineered power.
And we're not just summarizing the plot here, we're getting into the psychological cost. This is the story of a broken child who survived two completely distinct hells. One was physical hunger, and the other was this kind of emotional aristocratic cruelty.
And somehow built a foundation of unwavering humanity on top of all that wreckage.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack that journey. Let's start with the first hell, the one that really defined his calling and his incredible empathy. Sanji's dream as a kid was just massive. He wanted to find the All Blue, this legendary sea where all the fish from all four oceans meet.
The ultimate culinary paradise.
Right, and he was willing to risk absolutely anything to find it.
In that pursuit, that dream, it landed him in the ultimate nightmare. He was just a kid when he crossed paths with the pirate Redleg, Zeff. The sources detail this terrifying twist of fate.
To get shipwrecked.
Totally shipwrecked. Stranded on this solitary rock in the middle of nowhere. With just a tiny amount of food, the ocean became this vast, empty prison.
And you can feel the isolation in the source material. It's crushing. It wasn't just, being hungry. It was this psychological clock just ticking down to zero.
Absolutely. And they divide the rations, or rather, Zeff takes control of them. And the boy, Sanji, is just getting weaker and weaker. And he's looking across at this notorious pirate.
And he assumes the worst. That Zeff is just a selfish monster hoarding all the supplies for himself. He spends days just fixated on Zeff's huge sack of food.
The irony is just agonizing, and it's the cornerstone of everything Sanji becomes. He's starving, he's ready to hate this man, he's convinced Zeff is a monster.
And when he finally crawls over, desperate,
the truth comes out. The big sack Zeff was guarding, it wasn't food.
It was gold.
It was treasure. Zeff had given Sanji all of the actual food. And the pirate himself, in this just profound, gruesome act of sacrifice, had eaten his own leg to survive.
Just to make sure the boy got every last scrap. That single moment, it changes everything. This isn't just about survival, it's the birth of his moral code right there under the most extreme pressure.
Yeah, the man he thought was his greedy executioner was actually his selfless savior. He paid for Sanji's life with his own leg, with his future as a fighter.
And the impact was just instantaneous. It was absolute. That one act tattooed a core set of principles right onto Sanji's soul.
And that's why, years later, he never wastes food, not a single grain of rice, because he knows the true, painful cost of just one meal.
We see it over and over. It doesn't matter if you're a friend, a marine, a villain who just tried to kill him. If you are hungry, Sanji will feed you. No questions asked.
It's a trauma response that creates kindness. The sources really emphasize this. Hunger taught him radical empathy. And the pain of watching Zeff taught him what true humanity was.
If a pirate could do that for a stranger,
then Sanji's life had to be dedicated to honoring that sacrifice. He had to protect others from that same hunger.
Which brings us to the second hell. And this one is almost worse because it was so premeditated. It was systematic. If Zeff saved his body and taught him sacrifice, the Vinsmoke family tried to destroy his spirit and teach him cruelty. We have to shift from the tragedy of the sea to the tragedy of royalty and abuse.
The context here is just wild. The Vinsmokes aren't just a powerful family, they're the rulers of the Germa Kingdom, a mobile nation of super soldiers.
Engineered by his own father, Judge Vinsmoke.
Right. And the goal of this genetic modification was chillingly specific: to eliminate all human weakness.
Empathy, compassion, fear.
Even basic kindness. They wanted to create perfect, ruthless, obedient killing machines. Soldiers stripped of the messy burden of being human.
And that is exactly where Sanji became a failure. While his brothers were turning into these cold, super-powered robots, Sanji just stayed human.
He was emotional, he was gentle, and crucially, he was kind. By their cold, militaristic standards, those traits made him completely worthless. He was a failure because he could cook and he could feel.
And the rejection wasn't subtle, it was torture. His brothers would beat him for showing compassion. His own father locked him in a dungeon, chained him up.
They even published reports that he died in an accident. They tried to literally erase his existence from their own history.
But the ultimate rejection came from Judge himself. The material quotes that line, the one that defines this whole trauma: "You are not my son."
That one line, it says everything. I mean, imagine being rejected not by an enemy, but by the very people who created you.
The people who were supposed to protect you.
He escaped eventually, but that deep scar of family rejection, that's something he carries with him forever.
So if we pull these two traumas together, the starvation with Zeff and the torture from his family, what does this story really offer us? Let's move past the tragedy and into the lessons.
Okay, let's start with the most hopeful one. Lesson 1. Your past does not decide your future. Sanji's story is the ultimate proof of this.
He came from starvation, a dungeon, systematic abuse. He had every reason to become cynical or violent.
Yet he took those painful chapters and used them not as an excuse, but as fuel. He became this incredible chef, mastered a fighting style to protect his passion, and built a moral code that is absolutely unbreakable.
The past gives you context, sure, but Sanji proves it doesn't get to write the next chapter for you.
And it's easy to say that, but resisting that trauma response, resisting the urge to become the monster that hurt you, that takes conscious daily work. Sanji had to choose Zeff's generosity over Judge's control every single day.
Which leads right into lesson 2, and this is where it gets complicated. Kindness is not weakness. Sanji's refusal to strike a woman, no matter what, is, well, it's his most controversial principle.
And this is where the debate starts. The sources show this principle puts him at a huge disadvantage sometimes. He's taken beatings, faced near-death situations, almost lost critical fights because of it.
A purely pragmatic warrior would call that a flaw, a massive one.
But wasn't it really a psychological shield? His family tried to beat the chivalry and empathy out of him. They saw it as inefficient.
So his absolute refusal to compromise on this one thing
is a direct, lifelong rejection of the Vinsmoke philosophy. It's a statement, I would rather be defeated than abandon my humanity. His strength isn't just in his kicks, it's in his refusal to compromise the identity he fought so hard to create.
If he compromises on that, he risks becoming the unfeeling machine his father wanted him to be.
Exactly. It's a defensive barrier for his soul.
So the true strength is the consistency of that kindness, even when it costs him. He feeds enemies, he respects women, he protects the weak. These aren't weaknesses, they're the non-negotiable boundaries of who he is.
He teaches you that true strength is choosing the hard, kind path when the easy, cruel path is right there.
Which moves us to lesson 3, which is so beautifully tied to that first hell: respect your skill and passion.
For Sanji, cooking is everything. It's not a job. It's his entire identity, his pride, his sacred promise to Zeff.
He treats his kitchen like a holy place, his ingredients with total reverence. The material shows that even under insane pressure, his focus on his craft is perfect. The lesson there is universal. Whatever your skill is, your craft, your trade, you have to treat it with that same seriousness.
Don't treat your passion like it's secondary to status or money. Treat it like the foundation of who you are. Sanji mastered cooking so completely that his fighting style became an extension of it. He fights with his blackleg style, specifically to protect his hands for cooking.
That synthesis is just inspiring. His fighting protects his passion, and his passion defines his reason for fighting. It's a perfect loop of purpose.
And finally, lesson 4. Don't let hate change your nature. This might be the most profound takeaway from the Vinsmoke story. After all that abuse, the easiest path for Sanji would have been to embrace that cynical, cold nature of his family.
He had every right to become a hardened, cruel person, to become just like them.
The ability to resist that gravity, to stay kind and emotionally available, that is Sanji's ultimate victory. He was engineered by evil, raised in torment, but he actively chose his own character.
Which raises a big question for you, listening at home. How do you heal from trauma?
And the sources are pretty clear on the answer. You don't heal by becoming bitter. You don't heal by mirroring the evil that hurt you. You heal by staying human, by actively choosing light over the darkness you came from.
That choice required more internal strength than any physical power his brothers had.
So that brings all these lessons right to your doorstep. If we look at the final, actionable takeaways from this extreme story, we see Sanji's life giving us clarity.
First, never disrespect food, which is really a metaphor for respecting your resources, for gratitude.
Second, embody that empathy. Help people when you can. Lead with generosity even when it feels risky.
Third, and this is maybe the hardest one, protect your values even when it hurts, even when compromising would make your life so much easier.
And fourth, crucially, stop seeking validation from toxic people. If your family or your circle is trying to stamp out your kindness, their rejection is a sign of your success, not your failure.
It all comes down to his choice of belonging. He chose Zeff, the pirate, who sacrificed his leg over Judge, the father who sacrificed his son's soul.
He chose Luffy and the Straw Hats, his found family of misfits, over the power and entitlement of royalty.
And most importantly, he chose humanity over hatred. He found his real strength in the kitchen, on the deck of a pirate ship, surrounded by people who valued his kindness.
That's why we connect with him. He isn't loved just because he's powerful. He's loved because he's flawed and loyal and emotional. He fights to protect what matters, not just to be the strongest.
Sanji is this profound lesson in resilience forged by two different kinds of trauma. He teaches us that you can be completely broken by circumstance and still choose to be kind.
You can be rejected by your own blood, scorned for your nature, and still choose love.
Yeah.
You can build a family that defines you better than genetics ever could.
You can come from utter darkness, from two distinct hells, and still become a source of light for other people.
And that ability to choose good after everything he went through.
That's not weakness.
That is the definition of true internal strength. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.